Media bias laid bare. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.Media. The Globe and Mail has been caught holding back a story in order to help Justin Trudeau and the Liberals win last week's election. And the paper is actually defending what they did. In boxing, it's called throwing a fight, taking a fall. You can throw a game in all kinds of ways. It's like, just don't try that hard. The Chicago White Sox famously did that in 1919, taking money from gamblers to throw the World Series. Now, I'm not saying that the Globe and Mail took money from gamblers, but their decision to hold off on a major political story because they were worried it would affect the election shows that they were willing to tip the scales for the federal Liberals. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be screaming right now, especially all you progressives, the Globe endorsed the Conservatives. Kind of. That was the endorsement, the editorial ordered by Globe owner David Thompson to back the re-election of the Conservatives. And it resulted in a one-time editorial that explained why the Conservatives were worthy of re-election, but Stephen Harper wasn't. It was bizarre. And as I said, ordered by the owner. And as I keep trying to explain to people, a one-off editorial from the owner does not undo the daily drip, drip, drip of media bias and outright campaigning that appears on the front pages and the political pages. I talked about media bias and told you about our poll questions last week. More on that in a minute. But in my view, this story about the Globe and Mail helps prove media bias in favor of the Liberals. In deciding not to tell readers and voters in Ontario about the multi-million-dollar payoff from the Ontario Liberals to the province's teachers' unions because they were afraid of interfering in the election, the Globe has done just that. They interfered. The Globe sat on a bombshell story that Kathleen Wynne's government was paying off teachers' unions with special payments to defray the cost of negotiating and also funneling money from a fund, money designated to help struggling students graduate, and then using that money to pay for new raises for teachers. None of this was known to the public, but the Globe knew. And then over the coming days, they released this last Wednesday, the days after that, the Globe followed up with more stories revealing it wasn't just one teachers union, but several that got these special payouts. The total $3.7 million, all of it paid without receipts or documentation, according to Education Minister Liz Sandals, who responded to questions about what the money was paying for by saying, well, we all know what pizza costs. So how does the Globe sitting on this constitute them tipping the scales for Justin Trudeau? Well, the story was ready before Election Day, and they held it. They held it so that it wouldn't hurt Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. The Globe claims the story was only ready to run on Monday, October 19th, but that they held it. I'm sure it could have been ready before October 19th, but let's believe Globe Public Editor Sylvia Stead, who wrote in defense of holding the peace, quote, "In my view, if Ontario was voting that day for its own government, there would be no question the story should be published. Voters need to know as much key information as they can be provided to inform their vote. I agree that this was clearly a separate level of government and a provincial, not a federal issue." Interesting take. Here's the facts. Here's the reality. Kathleen Wynne was a constant figure on the campaign trail with Justin Trudeau in Ontario. She and her government were active players in the federal election, even into the last days, promising voters that if Trudeau were elected, she might not go ahead with her Ontario pension plan because Justin would take care of the whole country. She's since gone back on that promise, but that's not pertinent to this story. Ms. Stead of the Globe cannot say that federal and provincial politics are completely separate. She knew or should have known. How could she not have known how active Wynne was in the campaign? And what about all the people from Queen's Park, from Wynne's team, that formed the basis of Trudeau's campaign team? If she didn't know about that, then Globe national editor Dennis Choquette should have known. But he said, like Stead, well, these are just two different issues. Quote, "Voters were not being asked to elect a provincial government, so I did not feel that we were withholding essential information that could inform the decision at the polls. We did risk our appearance of neutrality, however, were we to have published on Election Day." End quote. What you were withholding, Mr. Choquette, was that Justin Trudeau's key ally, cheerleader, and mentor was caught using taxpayers' money to pay off her friends, just like Liberals of old. Perhaps what you were worried about is that exposing this on Election Day may have dampened some of the enthusiasm for your man Justin. Perhaps you were worried that voters hearing about Liberals being up to their same old tricks, well, they might have had second thoughts about taking the mark off next to the red team. Here's the reality. If this was only ready on Election Day, then by publishing on Election Day, I doubt your story would have had time to make a big impact on the outcome not in a significant way. But what your actions have done is not shield you or protect your appearance of neutrality. It's shown that you are anything but neutral. You and your team, Mr. Choquette, held back information, explosive information, and you put your hands on the scale to ensure they tipped only for Justin. Media party. Plain and simple. Now, last week, when I announced our poll on media bias, I had plenty of people shoot back at me that I'm biased, that The Rebel's biased. Let me explain the difference. Here at The Rebel, we're open about who we are, what we stand for, where we're coming from. That helps you inform how you view our work. The Globe and other media outlets will claim to be neutral when they are anything but. Even in their reporting, they're anything but. They are active. They are partisan players. Did you know that the union representing the Globe and Mail reporters is Unifor? Did you know that Unifor actively pushed for all of its members to vote for anybody but the Conservatives? Did you know that Unifor was a registered third party in this election and spent piles of money attacking Stephen Harper and the Conservatives exclusively? That is the Globe Reporters Union. Do you think that those reporters are immune to the constant barrage of anti-Harper missives from their union if they weren't already anti-Harper? I don't. We'll have our poll on media bias and media unions in a few days. If you want to kick in and help pay for that poll, then please hit the donation button. Every few dollars helps. $10, $15, $25, $50. And if you can't donate, then please spread the word by sharing this video. We don't get the $1 billion subsidy like CBC, and unlike the unions, we can't forcibly take money from your pocket to pay to spread our views. That's what the unions do. I'll have the results from those polling questions and report back to you in a few days' time. But in the meantime, remember this. This proves why The Rebel and independent media is so vital. We're not just complaining about the fact that the media is biased. We're actively doing something about it. We're building our own. With your help, we're building our own outlet. Thanks for watching, and remember, I'm on your side.